Hello, this is Daniel. Thought I'd post a video about this project. 94 T100 came originally with a 3.0. Had blown head gaskets when I got it. I thought it would be an easy job just to replace the head gaskets, put the truck on the road, but as it turns out, the truck had been sitting too long with the water all in the cams, and crank and everything were just rotted when I pulled it apart. So I picked up a 3.4 from our local junkyard. I also got this bed, which just happened to match in color. The previous one had some rust up over the wheel wells and had been damaged in the back. So Lou's Salvage Yard, Eric and Tommy really hooked me up with a color match bed for it. They also hooked me up with a good 3.4 motor, but as you can imagine, there are complications with taking a 3 slow out and putting a 3.4 in. So I thought I'd go over with you some of the changes that I've made so far, and this will be part one, and you can follow along as I'm struggling with this. I had to take the front grill off here in order to relocate the radiator. The radiator is actually 3/8 of an inch lower and 3/8 of an inch over in order to get the extra larger fan to spin and clear here without rubbing. So we've got that all, the radiator's all realigned. Maybe I can show you the holes. You can see how much difference right there. About a 1/2 inch diagonally, about 3/8 over and 3/8 down on the radiator. The battery had to be relocated from the passenger side to the driver's side so as to accommodate the air. The plenum is coming off right here, and the air filter is going to be right here. So we've got the positive cable coming over right here. We're going to hook that up, and then we're going to run a fuse right here, hooking on here, little blade fuse, and we'll run that back over to the fuse box right here. Some of the other problems we had was the dipstick was in the front right here, and good old Home Depot clamp right here with the new dipstick here. So I had to drill out the factory hole in the block to put the dipstick back here, and of course I had to change the oil pan and the pickup tube from a 95 to 98 T100 four-wheel drive, because they did put the 3.4 in the T100 from 95 to 98, but this being a 94, you couldn't get the 3.4 in it. So there are some unique parts, mainly the engine harness. So the engine harness that runs the injectors and the transmission, all of that. Here it is right here, the engine harness coming around and going inside the firewall right over here. And I'm going to show you inside the electronic control module that mounts to the kick panel on the passenger side is unique. You have to have a T100 95 to 98 four-wheel drive automatic that will then plug into this wiring harness. So those two pieces are kind of unique. Nancy and Randy out at Toyota parts in Denver, Colorado were able to hook me up with that. I think that wiring harness alone was $200, and I think the ECU was $150. So kind of a high dollar parts right there. Back to things being on opposite sides. The fuel rail is right here where the fuel line ties in. It used to go over to the driver's side and down to the fuel tank on this side, but now the fuel tank is on this side, and we're going to run the fuel line down and put in a new fuel line because this one was kind of rusty along the rail, and then put a new fuel filter on today. That's our goal. Then we'll be ready to finish plugging up the last little bit of wires, the injectors and things, and maybe start putting a plenum on today. Let's see, what else have we had to change so far? We used the alternator from the 3.0. We used the power steering pump from the 3.0. The AC, I changed out the whole compressor, but I should have and could have probably changed just the clutch because the belt is different. It was a V belt on the 3.0, and it's the serpentine belt on the 3.4. So I just changed the compressor. I kind of wish I had just changed the clutch. That way I wouldn't have had to have decompressurized the AC unit on that. One of the big problems I had, probably took me about 4 or 5 hours to, let me get the camera just right, was putting this water. Of course, I put a new timing belt and water pump and all that on it, but getting this water, this bottom radiator hose on was really difficult. This is actually off of the 3.0, and I cut it right here and put the hose on and got it tied on. But getting it past the alternator bracket and getting the hose on and the dipstick, the unused previous dipstick out of the way, getting everything lined up right there took a little while, so that was a struggle. Okay, well, like I said, let's swing around here. I'm gonna use a positive cable for the negative side because I want a body ground. This is my old filter right here. This is the loom to cover up the 8-gauge wire that's going to run from the battery to the fuse panel. The new fuel filter, the fuel line. This is from the 3.4, and it used to go from the passenger side over to the driver's side and down to the gas tank, which was on the driver's side on the 3.4, 95 through 98. But we're just gonna switch it around like this and run it down on the left. Of course, the exhaust is on the left also now, so the fuel line and the exhaust are going to have to we're just going to have to be careful of our clearance down through here. We got plenty of room. We can hold that fuel line plenty far enough away from the exhaust and run that down, both of them down through there. The exhaust will go down, probably hollow out the catalytic converter, and then we'll reroute the exhaust back to the driver's side and back out. That way it's going around the gas tank, which is on this side. Let me show you inside here real quick, and then I'm gonna get to work. Try to do a video this evening, see how far we got. But here is the engine harness coming into the cab. This is the 3.4 4x4 automatic transmission engine control module that is unique to this application, switching out the 3.0 to 3.4. Again, only available 95 to 98 in the T100. Now, it plugs right in. You know, 3 of the plugs are right there, but the problem is going to be underneath here. You can see these 2 right here. They tie back into the chassis right over here, right there. And these 2 will have to be repinned, and I'll probably have to do a completely separate video on that. I'll probably pull it back out into the engine bay area so I can work on it. I don't know if I'll just repin these plugs or cut the these plugs off of the 3.0 that came out of this 94 Toyota. I just don't know yet how that's going to work out. But I do have the book here that's got all the wire schematics. This is the 3.0, and then of course it's got the 3.4. And I'm going to be either repinning the existing plugs that are on here or cutting and splicing new plugs in. But it should start and run like it is. They wanted $500 to repin this harness, and I'm going to try it myself. Well, that's it for right now. Let's get to work, see how much I get done, and I'll do a wrap-up video this evening. Have a good day. This is Daniel, wrapping it up for today. I did get the fuel line right here. It's wrapped in heat tape, and the fuel line and filter installed back along the frame, and the new exhaust piece right there is installed. The rest of the exhaust, I'll just have that done by a local exhaust fabricator. The vacuum lines is what I'm going to be working on next, getting those all hooked up. So once I got the fuel line all in, I was able to put the plenum back on. I ran, this is my negative wire right here. I ran that and made a connection right here. That's going down to the starter for negative. Positive, I wrap that in this loom. It's right here. I have a couple of extra plugs. I'm going to have to work on that. My biggest issue is this is a 4-prong plug for the throttle sensor, throttle position sensor, and what fits here is a 3-prong. So here's the vacuum box. I'm going to have to get that mounted, get these lines figured out. I know this is the dump right here, just going to vent that out. And I know that this one goes to the air intake, and this one here goes to the tank, the gasoline tank. The rest of them I'll be working on. I haven't figured out what this one is yet. A little bit of work to do there. Alright. That's going to wrap it up for today. Here are the 2 throttle position sensors. This is the one that came off of the 3.0. My 94 3.0. It's got 4 prongs, and the wiring harness from the 3.4 has 4 prongs. But this is the throttle position sensor that fits this particular so unfortunately I have not figured out how to get past this yet. That's going to be an issue. Alrighty, well that's where I got today. Not much. Had a lot going on with the coin business today, working around that. Thank you very much.